Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, hear how Governor Ducey's proposed budget might impact kids. Also tonight, we'll learn about a town hall aimed at ending domestic violence, and we'll hear from the new director of the Morrison Institute of Public Policy. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Governor Ducey's recently released budget adds money for child safety, but makes cuts to child care vouchers and non-classroom K-12 education. Here to tell us more about how the governor's budget might impact kids is Dana Neymark, President and CEO of the Children's Action Alliance. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. All right, governor's budget, general thoughts.
General thoughts is I'm worried about the long-term trajectory for our state and for kids and families. In the short term, we know we expected pain. We've got a big budget deficit, and there are some bright spots in the budget. But in the big picture, it's a scary path to the future. It
looks as though it is, in general, kind of a 2-year spending freeze. Is that how you see it as well, in general?
No, Governor Ducey has described it as a realignment to match spending with revenues. And so I view many of these changes as permanent in his plan, and that's what I'm worried about.
So, but I think their idea is that revenues should be increasing within a couple of years, and that's when you can go back to some of the things that are cut or frozen now and maybe implement. That's probably a positive angle on it.
Well, he has given no indication that the cuts to universities or the underfunding of school inflation would be temporary or would be changed in the future.
Let's talk about how the budget, this plan, the governor's plan, impacts kids. What are you seeing?
Well, some good news. He really has been thoughtful about child safety, and he sustains the funding for the new Department of Child Safety and really continues a shift that the legislature talked about, which is moving funding from this crisis backlog into in-home services to help children stay safely at home and avoid foster care. So that's a really good thing.
That's what, $4 million, I think, something along
Correct.
those lines? And the idea is that that money was being used for the backlog of uninvestigated cases. That backlog's lower now. Move the money over. You say good thing.
It's a good thing.
Okay.
Absolutely.
As far as the cutback on child care vouchers, I'm guessing you don't say good thing.
No, we really think that's a mistake, and we certainly would call on the governor to correct that mistake. That child care funding, which happens to also be $4 million, was part of the child safety package. And the point of that is to prevent child neglect and reduce the growth in the caseload to CPS. Child care is vital. When parents don't have safe and affordable child care, they can result in situations of neglect for their kids.
And how did those vouchers work?
They are literally vouchers, so parents can take them into the private sector. They can also go into family homes for child care, and they still have to make a co-payment, but the voucher pays part of the cost and makes the child care much more affordable.
Now, was this a cutback or a complete elimination?
Well, we only have $4 million in general fund in child care, so he's zeroing out the general fund dollars. We still have federal funding, so the program would continue, but we've had long waiting lists because the need is much greater than the budget right now.
As far as education is concerned, we've got to shift the K-12 administration costs, cutting those, moving what's cut over to the classrooms. Your thoughts?
I actually think there's a lot of mislabeling in this budget about K-12. So when I look at it, I don't see any shift into the classroom. I see an underfunding of inflation. He's got about 1/5 of the inflation funding that the court ordered. And I see a cut to what is called non-classroom spending. But a mislabeling, because we've been talking about classroom spending as good and non-classroom spending as bad. And in fact, non-classroom spending is intimately connected to student success. So it's things like air conditioning in our schools, school security officers, counselors, nurses, guidance, speech therapy, things that students need to succeed.
And we should make it clear, again, the idea is that there is more money going to the classrooms, which is what was pronounced by the governor. But again, that money is going to the classrooms because it is being cut to these non-classroom areas.
There's really not more money going into the classroom, and he's shifting money out of the classroom for what's called student success into money for facilities. So literally his budget shifts money from the classroom to facilities. And that's okay, because we need good facilities for schools, and we need good overhead, and we need reading coaches for teachers, and we need counselors and things that are not called classroom spending. And teachers need that. They need the support. We have a huge teacher shortage in our state. One of the reasons is that teachers don't feel they have the support to do their job well. If you take away that non-classroom funding, you're reducing their support even more.
I guess $24 million is the amount to build and expand these public school buildings. And again, you say good idea, but just the process getting there is suspect as far as you are concerned.
I'm worried about the cuts to K-12 operations and the long-term impact that will have on all of our goals for student success.
As far as the monthly stipend to foster families, families for 12 to 18-year-old kids with those kids in the household, it's got to be a good thing.
It's a good thing, and the governor, again, has been thoughtful about wanting to move children out of group homes and into families, and we absolutely support that, and that restoring that rate will help.
We seem to, does Arizona still have a higher rate of foster kids than most other states?
We do.
Why
We've been
is
growing.
that?
Well, it's a variety of reasons. It's stress out in our communities. It's the fact that we're catching up on the backlog, and that we don't have a good array of in-home services right now. We can do much better in that.
And the group homes, I guess not only are they more costly, they're just not as good for kids, are they?
That's exactly right. It's very traumatic. It's hard to have a normal childhood when you're living in a group home.
Let's talk about the plan to keep juvenile offenders under the age of 14 in their home counties as opposed to all bottled up in one place with the state. Right. Thoughts on that?
Again, I think a very thoughtful proposal and a good way to use the budget to help facilitate a good policy outcome, because we want children to be safe in their homes and in their communities and not be in a secure statewide facility.
I think that shifts about $12 million to counties, which I guess they're going to have to find a way to pay for.
Right, and that's the challenge there, to make sure the counties have the services to provide and that they can provide the funding as well.
As far as kids are concerned in general, the cuts to Medicaid reimbursement, that sort of thing, how much does that impact families, kids?
Well, it does. When you connect the dots, I think it weakens our healthcare system, because what it says is to doctors, to hospitals, we're going to pay you less, and we may be paying you less than the cost of care. And so some providers will drop out and say, we're not doing this anymore, and it just makes it harder to access healthcare for everyone.
And as far as moving state behavioral health services all under access as opposed to separating them, your thoughts on that?
I think that's a good goal. The trick in that will be the details and how we get from here to there.
Did not see kids care
No.
in the budget, and probably,
catch.
thank you very much. I probably won't see kids care. Real quickly, a couple of minutes left here. What is kids care, and why is it so important to folks like you?
Sure, kids care is health coverage for children in low-income working families. We had a very strong program for many years, bipartisan support. It's extremely cost-effective. It keeps kids healthy and learning in school. Right now, we're the only state in the country without it. We froze it and then phased it out. Every other state still has it. And the problem is, even with the new marketplace plans under Obamacare, they don't work as well for kids in low-income families because they have expensive cost sharing and some services not designed for kids.
And I know that we've had you on the show before. I know kids care is very important to you. You've talked about it quite a bit. Is there a push? Is there any hint of getting that back?
Well, right now, Congress has to do their part because they have to reauthorize it federally. So we're asking our federal lawmakers as well as our local lawmakers to work together and to chart a path to restore kids' care.
Last question. This governor, this legislature, maybe not now, maybe in the future, are you optimistic that some of the things that you're seeing cut back here and not being properly funded there, if the economy gets going, will get funding?
Well, I always have to be optimistic as a child advocate, but we need your viewers, we need people around the state to get involved and to speak up and really tell Governor Ducey and their own legislators what's important to them. Without that, things will stay status quo.
All right, Dana, always a pleasure. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Last night we discussed how the issues of domestic violence and human trafficking can be illuminated by major events such as the Super Bowl. Tonight we hear about another event that specifically targets social norms that can lead to domestic violence and sexual assault. Joining us now is Allie Bones, CEO of the Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence. It's good to see you again. Got you here to talk about this visit, Touchdown for Tenderness. What are we talking about here?
So we decided with the week of the Super Bowl and a lot of attention being put on the issue of domestic violence and sexual assault over the last several months, that there would be a lot of attention here with media and everything, and that we wanted to bring people together to talk about the issue and what needs to be done as a community to address it. So we're bringing in a national speaker. His name is Tony Porter. He's with A Call to Men, and he's actually one of the advisors to the NFL on their new policies with regards to domestic violence among players. And he's going to be talking largely about how men can get involved in addressing the issue of domestic and sexual violence.
So A Call to Men is basically the title of the event?
Right. So we're calling it, his organization is A Call to Men. We're calling the event A Call to Men Arizona. So
okay.
He'll be doing a lecture in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we have two panels in a town hall format being moderated by Corey Woods, the city council member from Tempe. And the first panel is made up of former players and their wives to talk about their experiences of being in the NFL, support for players, what it meant if there was someone who was in a domestic violence situation, what they would do, things like that. And then we'll have an expert panel that will talk about, so if the NFL would ask any of us what we think they should do, what would that be? And so we have some folks who have done batterer intervention, prevention work, community counseling, things like that, who are going to be addressing those issues.
It sounds like a major message here is, again, shifting the societal norms of manhood, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a man, especially in rough and tumble areas like professional sports. Am I getting this right?
Absolutely. So Tony talks a lot about getting out of what he calls the man box. And thinking about how in our cultural norms, how we have men treating women and things like that, and really rethinking those things. We really are talking about creating a culture shift in our society where relationships are seen as partnerships, where there's equal treatment, where we don't use power and control over another person. And so it's really about those opportunities to have that conversation. How do we make that happen?
Is accountability also part of the conversation?
Absolutely. Accountability has to be part of the conversation. And from the coalition's perspective, one of the most important things is that accountability can come in many forms. It doesn't just have to come from the criminal justice system. It can also come from your community. It can come from the media. It can come from your church, your family, friends. So it's really important to talk about ways that our community can hold offenders accountable.
An incident like the Ray Rice situation, which again dealt with football, dealt with athletes and these, but very public, very noisy. What does that do to this issue?
It raises the profile. The conversation has just been elevated so much in the last several months. We see it on the news on a regular basis. There's ads playing during football games. We're seeing hits to, lack of a better word, to websites that address domestic and sexual violence go up by enormous percentages. So we know that this has struck a chord with people. People are really, it kind of raised the level of the conversation. And our hope with this event and moving forward even past the Super Bowl is to keep that conversation going.
When the conversation is ongoing, what are the questions you most often hear, especially from those who maybe find themselves involved for the first time?
Well, of course, the question we still so often hear is, why doesn't she leave? Why does she stay? And what we want people to start asking instead is, why does he or she, could be a female perpetrator, why do they abuse? Why are they hitting? Why are they using words to put someone down? So we want to turn the question over on its head and really ask those questions that will get to the root causes of the issue and hopefully turn it around.
Okay. Where is the event? When is the event?
The event is on Tuesday, the 27th, at the Tempe Center for the Arts. The lecture from Tony Porter is from 9:30 to 11:30, and the town hall will be from 1:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon.
All right. Should be very interesting. Good to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
ASU's Morrison Institute for Public Policy has a long history of providing research on a variety of issues impacting Arizona. This year, the Institute has a new director. He is Tom Riley, and he joins us now to discuss his new role and his vision for the Morrison Institute.
Thanks for having me on.
You betcha. Good. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on taking over the Morrison Institute?
Well, it's an exciting gig. Morrison has been the long-term, nonpartisan, independent premier think tank, and we're going to continue to do that. And we have a lot of exciting things on the horizon.
What does, in general, we'll get to some specifics here in a second, but what does a think tank do?
We do a lot of thinking. Well, what we try to do is we take complex issues that individuals face in Arizona and the Southwest, boil them down in a way that, and package them where people can understand them and can engage in the discussion.
So the role basically of a public policy institute, of the Morrison Institute, is raise these issues, show what's out there.
And engage. And then to that end, we're trying to engage citizens, engage individuals who are interested in policy in a variety of ways, through publications, through policy forums, through blogs, through social media.
As far as what the Morrison Institute has done and what you would like to see it do in the future, what changes?
Well, we're going to continue. What we have done is that we've gone to a strategic planning process where we've identified 7 core areas. And so we're looking at those 7 core areas. Not that anything Arizona specific is fair game for the Morrison Institute, but we're trying to focus some of those areas. We're aligning ourselves with some national think tanks like Brookings, as well as the Pew Center for Research. And then we're also taking a look at these issues like water, like immigration, like education and governance from also a Mountain West and Western perspective. Because, I mean, how do you talk about water if you don't talk about the states in the lower basin?
Well, let's talk about water. I know there's a new emphasis here. There's a new water index you're going to be developing. Water in general, how are you guys going to approach this?
Well, we just launched the new Kyle Center for Water Policy at the Morrison Institute, which we're real excited about. The overreaching goal of that is to convene many individuals and experts to talk about the challenges that we have for water policy. I mean, obviously the largest challenge we have is securing water, right, and how to pay for it. But before we can get to that, we really have to determine who has the water rights and what priority. So over the last 40 years, there's been tens of thousands of cases that have been bogged down in legal proceedings known as the general stream adjudications. So the first order of business of the Kyle Center has been actually to convene individuals to look at alternative ways to actually see if we can do this more expeditiously so we can get on to that larger issue about how we secure water.
And please, go ahead.
You mentioned the water index.
Yes.
That's kind of fun because we got some funding to do that. So if you can think about it like you're driving down and looking at to a national park and you see that sign about what's the dangers for a fire. We're looking at something that is portable, that we can take mainly to a lot of the cities, to an index to the other cities in the Southwest that looks at water vulnerability. So we're looking at a whole bunch of factors, such as, and to kind of boil them down to look at, population, consumption, conservation, whether you have meters or whether the meters work, and actually put those in there and put out this index, compare them, the Sun Corridor, Phoenix, and other areas to other cities. But hopefully that this can be an instrument that if you start making good policy or alter where you're going, you can actually have an increased water index and rating.
Interesting. I noticed as well that there's going to be an emphasis on polling, maybe even polls, surveys every quarter or so. Accurate, good, strong polling, especially in a political year, but at any time, very important.
I'm excited about this because now Morrison has always done polling. But what we're doing now is we're doing this quarterly, so it's going to be consistent. What that allows us to do is not only support our core policy areas, but also keep a pulse on what's happening in Arizona with citizens. We can also track them over time. And we also have the ability to look at the Southwest so we can take some issues that not only we face in Arizona, but others in the Mountain West.
I noticed as far as politics are concerned that you're going to take a closer look at Arizona independent voters. Good luck, fella.
Well, this is good because, I mean, if you look at for the first time, last year or two, more individuals in Arizona have identified themselves as independent than they have in either of the major parties of Republicans and Democrats. And there's a lot of talk about, well, who are these independents? What impact they have on politics? Do they vote? Don't they vote? But there's been very little empirical evidence out there to suggest and actually look at that. We're going to take that deeper dive, and we're actually going to look at the independent voter, and we're engaging in that now, and that should be a really exciting discussion.
Well, the independent voter has been such a curious, I use it in a third person here, but there are a lot of folks, perhaps even me, might be an independent voter. But to try to define them and to try to find out why they vote, why they don't vote in mass, that's going to be quite the undertaking.
Well, there's been a lot of angst to a lot of politicians and a lot of the general public, but we hope to provide a little more clarity to that, but also to allow for some important discussion around that.
Latino education success I saw mentioned, as well as economic opportunities between Arizona and Mexico. We are so close to the border, you can't avoid those issues, can you?
You can't. And we're going to also address that. We're also looking at North American trade, too, to look at the issue of Canada, United States, and also Mexico. So we're convening some discussions around that and looking at that issue. If I can address another issue, too, we're looking at is with the increase of ballot initiatives that are out there, citizens are really confused. I mean, they're confused because you put out a ballot initiative, there's competing claims on both sides, many times contradictory. And so what we did in this last election in the city of Phoenix around the pension issue, we took a group of 20 citizens that were representative of Phoenix, brought them together for 3 days to talk about pensions, if you can imagine. They became a lot more educated, but there is this need for individuals to be able to go to places to help them wade through and make some informed decisions about pensions. We're looking to 2016. So we've actually received some funding to look at broadening that with our eye on 2016 to help educate voters about these initiatives and also publish statements that we hopefully will get into the Clean Elections publications as well as the Secretary of State's, so individuals can turn to give them some guidance instead of listening to both sides that sometimes don't make any sense.
Well, and that's a good point, because oftentimes public policy institutes, you name them, wonks love them. They go to bed reading them, and they just are so happy. But the average general person who's working for a living and needs to have things cut down to size and explain it to me, please, sometimes you really need to work at doing that. Are you going to do something like that?
And I think there is a desperate need for that, and there's a yearning for that. So I think that this is, as we see more of these initiatives, this is going to be very important. So we're really looking forward to that. As
far as the Morrison Institute, a monthly roundtable and panel discussions as well?
Yeah, well, so we're doing some policy forums. So our first one was on the issue of pensions, which was around the time of the vote. We did our second one dealt with the Sun Corridor to look at that as an economic engine, particularly around water and transportation. Next week, we're actually kind of following up on your previous guest. We're doing one that looks at men in professions that have violence in it and how they separate that in their personal life. So next Thursday, which we hope your audience will come to, you can go to our website. But we have 4 individuals. We have a former NFL player. We have a martial arts expert from the UFC. We have a former Iraqi vet and a police officer. And they're going to kind of talk about that on the panel, about how do you separate, when part of your job deals with violence, how do you separate that in your private life? And then in March, we're doing one that should be very interesting that deals with issues with so public safety and gun rights and the balance between the two. Right. So we have a publication coming out that should be really interesting.
All right. Well, it sounds like you got quite a lot of things going over at the Morrison Institute. It's good to have you here. Good luck to you.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on.
All right. Thank you. And Friday on Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists Roundtable. We'll discuss plans by House Republicans to close their caucus meetings, and we'll look at attempts to make it easier for lawmakers to remove judges from the bench. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.